Hello, everybody. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Let's turn Ion off. Comments on. I think we're good to go here. I went wrong. I went last week. I went live at the wrong hour, so I hope I've got it right. We're 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern. For some reason, I went an hour earlier last week. Apologies for that. I also I was logging on today, and my Instagram had a live video going. I don't know. I didn't start it. People were commenting on it. There was me there. I don't understand what that was all about. Anyways, very confusing with the technology today. Worked a lot, just a little chit chat as people start to join us here. Worked a lot on the inner circle deals and capital this week. The press release that I referred to last week said if you're raising capital, structuring deals, navigating tough business challenges, this community is for you. It's a free, private, live community. I don't know that live is the right answer. Yeah, I guess it is. It's going to be on Zoom for founders, executives, advisors to come together every 2 weeks on a Zoom to pitch, share challenges, get feedback, sharpen their strategies. It says just real people doing real work. And so we have scheduled that. The first one is next Tuesday, August 12th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully I do it at the right time. And the goals of this group are community, education, deal review, planning review, deal pitching, and we have had a lot of signups. People find this concept interesting. We shall see how it goes. You know, it's intended for founders, for small business people. We're doing under the ScottSinclair.com brand as opposed to Sinclair Range. And the ScottSinclair.com is intended to be more educational, founder, entrepreneurial brand as opposed to a mid-market and upper and small market for Sinclair Range. And but we're getting signups on this thing with some really heavy hitters. It's making me a little bit nervous. Got investment bankers, government representatives, lenders are joining the call. It's going to be interesting. I have a lot of thinking and planning to do over the weekend, but come join us. Come register for this thing. You can reach out in the notes to this, or you know how to get a hold of Sinclair Range. That's enough time, I think, for people to come and join us if they want to join us live. What happened here to my screen? There we go. Let's get started. Welcome to a week in review at Sinclair Range. My name is Scott Sinclair. I'm founder and owner and president of Sinclair Range. And the mission here is to give you some insight into what's been going on. It's hopefully a window into real deals, the day-to-day business adventures, the good and the bad at Sinclair Range. We have our usual segments today: lessons learned of the week, interesting file or deal of the week, struggles of the week, and my musings, Scott's observations. Let's dive right in. Lessons learned for the week. I was listening to a live LinkedIn broadcast by good friend Marcin Dratz. I don't know ever if I'm saying his name properly, but D-R-O-Z-D. Go look him up. Great guy, tremendous value. Marcin, M-A-R-C-I-N. And he's a coach, a speaker, author, community, and he focuses a lot on community building and deals. So similar to what we're talking about with the Inside Circle. But I think he can correct me if I'm wrong, that he's mostly centered around real estate. And by that, I think he's mostly focused on multi-unit residential. And I know that he does his own investing, but most of his content is geared towards coaching other people that are raising money for those sorts of deals. And in the middle of this LinkedIn live stream that I was sort of listening to, he started talking about an old saying that when you chase money, money runs away, which, I actually never heard that saying, but it's absolutely true. So he said, be a magnet. You have to turn that around. And I have talked about that often in my content, including on the Week in Review at Sinclair Range, that you cannot sell very well financial deals. You just can't sell them. You have to create a set of facts, an environment where people want to buy. That is what you should be focused on. And as Marcin says, be a magnet. So create that set of facts that cause people whose job it is to invest in deals, or whose interest it is to do deals, to invest in and to want to do your deals. You need to make your deal irresistible. That's what you should be focused on. We've talked about this on past shows. And I also talked to you on past review shows about a particular problem we were having in an investee company. And thanks for joining us, by the way, on whatever platforms you're on. I don't get to see that on StreamYard, but say hi in the comments. Let us know that you're with us. And if you have any questions or comments, throw them out to us here. Anyways, I've talked about this problem we had where we agreed to work with a company, and the whole point of the company is it had tied up some intellectual property, and one of the shareholders, a guy who was literally granted shares to deliver the intellectual property, turns out he had that intellectual property in his name personally, not in the company, refused to vend that into the company, even though he got shares precisely for doing that, and then was pissed that we weren't raising money for the company as per our engagement letter, when in fact he had lied and was frustrating the entire process. Well, this week, I think, are we on to lessons learned from the week? We are. There's a press release. You can go find it at sinclairrange.com and in other places. But the press release says that Earth Project 2010 signed an exclusive agreement to bring NRES, that's ENRESS, depolymerization technology to Canada and Mexico. Earth Project, a company focused on eliminating plastic waste and protecting human health, is pleased to announce it has entered into an exclusive rep agreement with NRES, an environmental technology company based out of Czech. Under the terms of the agreement, Earth Project becomes the exclusive representative of their advanced depolymerization systems in Canada and Mexico. NRES, as far as we know, has the only technology in the world that works at a commercial scale for recycling plastic and turning it into carbon-based things that, like fuels, for example, that are resellable, and it works. It's profitable, it's scalable, and so Earth Project now has this tied up in this IP tied up in these jurisdictions. The system converts plastic waste into reusable resources, offering a viable solution for the most pressing environmental issues of our time. The plastic crisis is growing by the day, says Jack McLeod, director of Earth Project. I am also a director of Earth Project, by the way. That's not true. I will be a director of Earth Project after we have our shareholders meeting, I think next week. At least that's the intent. The partnership allows us to deliver just that, cutting-edge technology with the potential to transform how we handle plastic waste. Okay, so that goes on and on. At the end, it says Sinclair Range continues to play an active role in the management, capitalization, and growth of Earth Project, supporting its mission to drive meaningful environmental impact through innovation and enterprise. So this is a portfolio company of Sinclair Range, and the lesson here is to be a magnet, as Marcin says, not just raising capital, but in any deal. This is the company where we did not have the IP. We are able to sidestep the shareholder frustrating the deal that I had discussed in prior episodes, and we were able to go straight to the IP holders and make a deal based on our strengths, causing them to want to work with us directly, which we were able to do. And everybody, I like these people a lot at the NRES side, and our team, Jack did a great job. And so there we are. Now why am I telling you all this? Apart from the lesson raised, we will be raising money on this deal. Probably in September we'll start. It's hard to sell something to launch a new deal in August, but we'll be getting, now that we have this technology locked up, we'll be getting our ducks in a row this August, and we'll be hitting the market in September. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to leave some comments on my screen over here, please do so. Okay, so that is the reach out to me if you want to invest in that deal or learn more about it. By the way, that is Earth Project Plastics Recycling. There'll be more exciting announcements coming on that very, very shortly. Interesting deal. File of the week. Hey, we have a new client at Sinclair Range this week where we are working on a refinancing, restructuring. I am personally CRO, which is Chief Restructuring Officer. We're also doing the outsourced virtual controllership accounting. Did you know that Sinclair Range offers outsourced fractional virtual accounting services? It's becoming, not becoming, it is a massive problem, particularly for smaller businesses to be able to afford that accounting function on a professional basis. It's just become too expensive. And what's happening is companies are not doing it. Their books and records are not clean. And as I said, if you can't report, you can't do a deal. And so we're offering this service, and it's been just really, really well received by the market in general. So it's an interesting issue. I've been working on it all morning. I'll continue to work on it this afternoon. But we have one customer in particular that owes a bunch of money to my new client, or that I now represent as Chief Restructuring Officer. So much money that is basically a year's full revenue, not from that one customer, but from like a total year of revenue is owed. And so that's a big number, but they're claiming offset of basically the whole thing for payments that they say we owe them. But the payments are effectively a scheme. They're non-contractual. They stink, if I can put it that way. But there is an invoice that goes along with it. If our company had collected, they wouldn't be insolvent. They wouldn't be filing a proposal, which is probably what's going to happen in this situation. But the customer's position is that when we pay them what they say we owe them, then they will pay us what they owe us. And there's a small spread in our favor, but not much. But we have to pay first. And of course, my client can't afford to do that. And I don't know, is it even a real liability? Like, it's off the books, quote unquote. It stinks. There's no contract that documents that we owe them money ever, whereas there is a contract in goods and services delivered that they owe us money. So I don't even know if it's real. I don't know if it's going to survive a proposal. And either way, I think if we file on that proposal, I think the liability goes away in part, or maybe even in whole. We're not getting any work from this customer anymore. I don't think we're ever going to get work from them again, or no time in the near future. The whole negotiations ground to a halt. And my immediate challenge is to kick off the negotiation. If you listen to the Winning Momentum content, you'll see in the negotiation parts of that, I refer to the ATMOG strategy, the Winning Momentum strategy for negotiation. I won't go through that in detail now, but what is the A in ATMOG? Well, it's attention. You can't negotiate, you can't persuade if you don't first have their attention. And this whole thing's ground to a halt. We don't have their attention. They don't have any intention of paying us anytime soon. And it's driving this company into a bankruptcy. So what are we going to do about that? I think what I'm going to do is draft a demand letter. I think I'm going to do that this afternoon. See if I can get everybody on site and issue that out, and basically demand payment from this company, failing, and at least bring them to the table and threaten them with what? Threaten them with probably that we're going to file an insolvency process, which is going to bring this whole scheme to light, which I understand they don't want to have happen. And in any event, if we do that, they still owe us the money. We don't owe them anything because it's not a legit. I think that's the play here. So we'll see how that goes. That's the interesting issue that I'm tackling right now. And for the week, struggles of the week. Speaking of a company in the automotive sector, a company that has been crushed by tariffs, but is now rebounding because they have pivoted to other industries, same work, but different industries, non-automotive. Speaking of companies in that situation, we have another one too, by the way, which is not automotive. It's in the energy sector, but they're dealing with the same thing, where the senior lender doesn't yet realize the extent of their problem, but they're going to, in this particular situation, when in the automotive situation, when they get the statements. But what's common between these two clients of ours is that sometimes all you have to offer a bank is growth. Like right now, we're in trouble. We can't pay you back. You don't have this, like the value of your security package is not what it should be. What are we going to do? We have growth. We can actually, now I've got 3 or 4. Now that I think about it, we have 3 or 4 clients in this situation. We can grow ourselves into this situation. At the end of the day, the bank needs to make a decision. Do they pull the plug now and take less, or do they try to work with the management team and grow and reestablish their value and exit at, a higher exit than they would if they did it right now? And so how do you convince a lender to do that? Because obviously it's better for the company. Well, sometimes, not obviously, sometimes it's better for the company to go through the process of growing and paying out the lender, say 100 cents on the dollar, rather than going through an insolvency today and paying the lender 50 cents on the dollar or 30 cents on the dollar. But if you want to get the lender on side, how do you do that? And the answer is in the narrative. There has to be a story that admits failings. Like, hey, here's how we screwed up in the past. Here's the problems. Here's what it means. And there it is in numbers. But here's how we're growing. Here is what we have changed and how we're going to grow. And that's in numbers. And in numbers, I mean a model. And your position, Mr. Bank or Ms. Bank, ends up much better throughout this. And why do I say there has to be a narrative that admits failings from the past? Well, the answer to that is trust. What is the T in ATMOG, the negotiation persuasion tool under the winning momentum content? Well, it's trust. It's trust. Do they trust you to execute, to tell them the truth and to execute on the things that you say that you're going to execute on, right? So A is attention, the T is trust. And in the end, it boils down to, does the bank want to pull the plug now and take a haircut or go along with you in management? And often the bank, even if they trust you, is going to pull the plug just because, for nothing to do with you, but just because, in my experience, they want the asset, the loan off their balance sheet. Basically, they're just cleaning up their books, and that's fair game too. And so how do you get the bank to participate in growth? Your only thing that you can do is create a narrative, be professional about it, have a chief restructuring officer like us, I think. Anyways, I'm drafting 2 different files. We're drafting a communication to lenders on that right now. And then it's complicated by personal guarantees. If the bank pulls the plug right now, they want to go after personal guarantees. And so how do we deal with that issue? Anyways, that's the struggle of the week. I don't know that I've communicated a clear answer on this. I don't really know that I have a clear answer, but that's what I'm thinking about and struggling with at the moment. But I will have a comprehensive answer by the end of today. Gives me about 3 or 4 hours here on a Friday afternoon. What am I thinking about? What are Scott's musings? Selling for, partnering with governments and not-for-profit agencies. No, I'm not talking about you. If you're listening to this, some of you think that listen to this, that you know who I'm referring to, that I'm talking about you. You do not know. But here's a phrase that I hear a lot from not-for-profits and governmental agencies. Hey, Scott, you haven't dealt with governments before, have you? Or you haven't dealt with volunteer boards before, have you? Of course I have, you idiots. Of course I have. And when you say that, you're not talking about me, you're talking about you. What you're saying is that you know that your processes, that your systems suck. They're inefficient, they're ineffective, and that's why everything goes sideways in not-for-profit situations, because the systems behind it, systems over goals, the systems behind it are inefficient and ineffective. And if you say that I don't understand that, what you're really saying is I shouldn't bother pointing it out to you because it makes you uncomfortable. Now, I do understand the difference between a commercial enterprise dealing with a commercial enterprise versus a commercial enterprise dealing with a not-for-profit or governmental agency. The not-for-profit government agency isn't going to change. They don't care. They're too big in the government context anyways. And they're unable. They're just unable to make changes. They cannot adapt. I understand that. What is the answer? At the end of the day, my musing, the answer is be a magnet. I think it's the same as what we talked about before. Giving another shout out to Marcin. Be the best solution. Make them want to buy from you. I think that is the answer on that. All right, 22 minutes in on this. Let's wrap up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the kind words and the comments and everything that we're getting on this new format. I think is going really, really well. Thank you to all of you that have sent your registration in for the Insider Circle. Keep that up. Let me know if you want to join. Reach out to us if you're a company going through transition. We exist to help you to navigate high growth, to navigate financial distress, and doing deals. We will talk to you next week.